So today we're going to talk about what our most recent and our first ever
international trips
were. First of all, I acknowledge that I am one of the lucky Americans that has a passport. I heard somewhere that less than 20% of us actually have international passports and are even able to make international trips.
Why? Why only 20%?
Well, the U.S. is big, and also international travel is expensive. Mm-hmm. So I understand why a lot of people don't get to do it. It was a huge deal to me when I went on my first international trip. I was like, oh my God, it was like such a big deal. I was very excited about it. My first international trip was to London and Switzerland with my family when I was 11, 12, somewhere in there. I loved London. I thought it was awesome. I remember we went to Harrods and I got to buy like a dress. Like it was like a brown like corduroy dress, and we had like a black silk shirt underneath with like little squares of gold and brown, and I loved the crap out of that dress, and I wore it for Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's for like 3 years in a row. We saw the crown jewels. I remember that.
What's that mean? What does that even?
The crown jewels in the Tower of London. Like, the Queen's jewels. Like, her crown and the scepter and, like, all that. And my parents actually spent their honeymoon in Switzerland. So we went to go see, like, the tiny town where they spent their honeymoon, which was kind of fun. And I also remember the place that we stayed in Switzerland, they had a wartime bunker. Like a World War II era, like, bomb shelter. The building had a bomb shelter. And so each resident had, like, a little spot in the bomb shelter. And so we got to go look at the bomb shelter, which was, like... I was like, what is this for? Because, you know, I was 11. I hadn't gotten to those parts of history yet. And I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
That's great.
So I remember we got to Switzerland, and I wanted to buy a Swiss Army pocket knife. And my sister and I both saved up, and it was like 28 francs. And I bought this camping version of the Swiss Army, like, classic knife. And it was, like, such a big and precious deal to me because it was more money than I'd spent on anything. So I had comparing all these models and checking all of them. And the guy was so patient behind the counter with me asking my millions of questions and comparing all these models and, like, counting my change carefully. Seeing which one I could afford.
Oh, that's really cute. That's cute. Really cute.
I bought so many stupid things. I bought, like, there's, like, a miniature crown and a miniature scepter, and I, like, bought, like, this tiny set of worthless crap that what are you gonna do with it? But
it was worth it.
It was exciting, and I loved it. And I just thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it was so formative that I spent all of high school, I was totally an Anglophile.
What's Anglophile?
Somebody who, like, thinks Britain is amazing. So I drank tea, and I listened to British music, and I even applied to British schools when I was going to go to college. Because I was, like, so into it. And part of that was this international trip that I went on when I was a wee lass. That was my first international trip.
My first international trip was when I was 6 or 5, 6-ish. And when I went to Indonesia.
Oh!
So,
do you remember any of that?
I don't remember any of it. It's not even a trip. It's my international trip was immigration for 4 years, so it wasn't like a
my trip to moving to another country.
That was my first international trip. So I don't know. How many occasions should I even tell about my trip?
Well, you do have funny stories, though.
Well, yeah. So, like, one funny story is I have this picture in the airport of this Jakarta airport. Me, my sister, and my mom. Why did my dad thought that was a great idea of a picture of groggy to children?
Memories.
Groggy children to children. And the fashion was amazing. I was wearing, like, blue cyan stockings.
God. All of your childhood photo fashion choices were just on point.
And then I was wearing a polo shirt. It was pink. And I was a kid, but my colors were up. Literally. And then I had
bright blue pants, like Robin's egg blue pants.
Stocking. And then I had
stocking, pink polo, and then collar popped,
and then pink skirt that was a little bit balloonish. It was like avant-garde. Yo, it was super avant-garde. And then my sister was wearing a super preppy sailor white collar dress. And then my mom is wearing, like, you know, one of those, like, you know, knee-breaking white leggings with really crisp white shirt. She was modern. My sister was preppy. What am I even wearing? I was, like, having, like,
you were Soo Zee.
band of, like, and I have this messy hair because I've been out in, like, 8 to 9 hours of flight.
Oh,
and then
gosh.
that's the first international trip I've been. I don't remember anything actually going there or even any airports. I don't remember anything, but I do remember it was a big deal to move out of the house. So I remember it was like weeks and months of like packing and doing things. I remember I was so sleepy, and then they were trying to move.
Because you were like 6 years old. Yeah, of course you were sleepy.
And then at the house, they were packing up everything. There's also things they want to throw out, and there was like blankets, also like things they're not going to take. So I was I was like a dog who slept on the ground, a pile of clothing and, you know, the blankets. I remember that part.
You just like formed a nest. You're like when like people move and cats get scared and they go find tiny holes.
Exactly.
This is my safe place. Yeah, smells like home.
That's how I felt. I don't remember anything about like settling in or anything because I was such a kid. It was just like I was there. And okay, so that was my first international trip that I can not remember, but I do have a picture of it.
What was your most recent international trip?
Your
last international trip?
Vladivostok.
Oh, that's right. You went to Russia.
I know. I went to Russia.
You came back from Russia and described some things to me, and I was like, ooh, I am now kind of interested in going to Russia in a way that I was not before.
Exactly. You met some Russian people here as
did.
well. And
I met really lovely people. Russian people here.
I don't know. It's a political situation. Sometimes it's
I'm American, and I'm sure we've had some very subtle brainwashing in our educational system against the commies. I'm sure that
happens.
There's like some sort of leftover in our psyche as a nation.
Definitely. And also us. I mean, it's not like I never was like interested in going until like I was forced to go on a business trip. It was lovely. That was my last. I was thinking Hawaii, but Hawaii was before. So, when was your last international trip?
Yeah, I went back to Houston for my grandmother's birthday.
Yeah. Yes. That's great.
Yes, that was my most recent trip. Nothing exciting happened. It was just, hometown stuff. I was not there for very long, a week, and then I came back.
That's good.
The thing is, you have to go if you're going on a trip, that time zone is that big of a difference. You have to go for a while, but it's not really enough time to do anything. It's only enough time to just, like, get adjusted, eat a taco, and come home.
Yeah. You can't take much. A long day.
Yeah. Vladivostok was not that far.
Yeah, it was only 2 hours, like 3 hours maximum.
And you did a lot while you were there.
I did a lot. I was, like, out of my way of doing a lot. Yeah. So that was my international trip. Do you have any international trips planned?
No.
Me neither.
I don't. I'd like to do more. So I've been living in Korea for 7 years, almost 8 years now, and I've not been anywhere in Asia, really. There's still all these countries I haven't seen, and I feel like, what am I doing that I'm not going to see other places? But I don't take that many international trips, really. Me too. I'm kind of here. This is life, and then work, and you don't get that many days off, and travel is expensive, so I don't do it as often as I'd like, but there are all these places I want to go. So I feel like, what am I doing? Why am I not going to Vietnam? Why am I not going to Cambodia? Why am I not going to Singapore? Why have I not been to Malaysia? Why have I not been to all these amazing places? Like, there's even places that aren't high on my list that if given the opportunity I would still go to, like Bhutan. I'd still go to Bhutan, even though it's like, it's not in my top 10, but I'd go if the opportunity arose.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's it for our last international trips. We would love to know what your first ever international trip was, what your most recent international trip was, or if you haven't taken an international trip, where you would like your first one to be.
Yeah, look forward to your emails.
Comments below or your emails. We read them all, no matter which way they come to us.
Yes.